my name is Rishabh. I'm doing a Master's in Architectural Design from CEPT University, Ahmedabad in India. This video is meant for my design presentation for Monsoon 2022 semester. And the topic of the semester was to design a musorial, which is a combination of museum and a memorial. So the topic I choose is a secret, and I hope you enjoy this video and my presentation. So let's embark on the design journey for the monsoon semester 2022. What comes to our mind when we hear the word Godhra? So when we Google the word Godhra, this kind of images come to the Google homepage. And this tells us that we are still living, 2 decades older, 2 decades back. So understanding the Godhra incident of 2002. So this was a collage exercise that was introduced to us in the first week to understand our design intent. So this is what I came up with. So they are basically, there's a background to the complete collage which shows what we are talking about. There are 2 rails that are polarizing, that depict the railway system also, and the polarization that they are going away from each other. There's a division and a gap, and there are elements of reflection that shows that who did this. So mirror was used as an element of reflection, and the number of casualties that died in the complete incident are represented through holes. So site selection. This is the overview, aerial view of Godhra city. So naturally the site selection came out to be the railway station, which is the first image of the city. So this is a current image of the city. So there's a Godhra Junction. In the backdrop we can see the burned coach kept like that. So this continues to be the first image of the city. And the idea of the project is to change the first image of the city. Railway stations become a good civic space, and they're equitable space, that they're equally accessible to people of all color, caste, sex, religion. So the railway station becomes an ideal space for site. Understanding site context. So this is a figure ground map of the Godhra city and the railway station. So when we compare the other railway stations of different scales, we realize that there's a difference in density of the on the sides of the railway station. And so the railway station has been seen as an element that creates difference in density of houses, and the smaller the railway station, less is the density, like in the case of Udupi, and the bigger the railway station, the bigger is the density, like in the case of Ahmedabad and New Delhi railway station. So this naturally makes us realize that because of the poor connectivity on the 2 sides, there's a difference in density. So the intervention naturally came out to be a space that connects both the sides of the railway station, so that we can have equal amount of density on both the sides. So need to connect the 2 sides. Connection unites people, and unity constructs peace. So the topic naturally came out to be Shanti Setu, transforming image of Godhra through a bridge. So we move to concept formulation. So before starting the concept, these are the certain questions that I asked myself. What situations led to Godhra incident? What happened during the incident, and what happened after it, and what should happen after it? So to answer these questions, I read few articles of the Banerjee report and the book Gujarat Files by Rana Ayub, which helped me discover few things behind the questions. So in the complete process of the Gujarat riot, the first thing that happened was ignorance in the larger public, which led to mess, which further led to deception in the society. And when there is a deception, it often leads to violence. Like when people don't know about each other, there's a deception that what they think about us versus what the ground reality is. So that causes violence. And after violence, there's a sense of reflection. Then after reflection, we have peace. So these were all the elements that a sequence that transpired during the Godhra incident of 2002. And these were some sketches that I did to understand ignorance, the elements of ignorance, mess, delusion, how they can be represented architecturally. So then we move to scale exploration. So while I was trying to figure out scale on the figure ground map, I realized that it needs to be something that merges with the complete landscape. The scale of the bridge merge with the complete landscape. So in the end, after doing multiple iterations of different scales, something came out like this: a staggered form with one of the block being little off to break the rhythm, and this is how the complete figure ground came out to be of the proposed project. And now we move to design development. Macro design development. So all the elements that we talked about have been put on each block or each unit: ignorance, mess, deception, violence, reflection, and peace, that forms the chain of the complete incident. So this is the site of the Godhra railway station. The first step was obviously to put the structure in place of the complete bridge. So this is how the structure came out to be, and this is how it kept on developing. And so the first thing was to put a straight bridge that connects the two sides. Then we broke the complete bridge into multiple staggered form, putting one breaking rhythm for the element of delusion, and adding a common axis and vertical circulation from both the ends. Axis connecting ground to sky connection depicting polarization and journey towards the peace. On the ignorance side, we can see there's a void where people can see the below, and while they move towards the peace, they can the architecture element connects it to the sky. So this basically represents moving from dark to lightness. And as we keep on adding elements, adding staircase on the two ends to connect the roof, taking delusion floor below the axis to create the idea when a person is walking that there's nothing on the side, but when the person is over there, they realize there's a space, and the space is actually connected through and through, but to realize that the person needs to go on the lower level. And creating sharp walls for the violence that depict violence, sharp walls, sharp lines, and angular lights. And then there's element of reflection that we started building on. And then to make people pause at reflection, we proposed the jali kind of a wall on the other side that forms an interesting pattern on the main axis, where people would like to pause and reflect what is it, and then they discover the reflection part of the memorial. And further moving, then we add shading through the main axis, defining movement through the roof on the violence exhibition has been added on this one, and adding elements of ignorance, that is a wall hanging from the roof, in which breaks the basic notions of building a wall, that the wall begins from the below, but in this case the wall is coming from the up, that breaks basic notions and depicts ignorance of a person that can be built in many ways. And then we added roof on the left side, on the left side of the roof, on the ignorance and the mess. The roof is made of 5 components that represents 5 cities of the Godhra, and on the right it is a one unified roof which represents the idea of unity. So the project is Musorial, museum and memorial. So museum is a place that something is built or done to remind people of an event or a person that becomes that becomes museum of the city of Godhra. And the memorial is something that is built or done to remind people of an event or a person. So that becomes the Godhra incident of 2002. That's how these two combine and become the complete Musorial. And this is the overall axonometric view. On the lower level we have the memorial, and on the above we have the museum. On the one side we have old Godhra Museum, and on the other side we have new Godhra Museum. So this is a journey from a view of a traveler visiting Godhra, which is more spatial analysis of the complete design. This is the frame 1. Getting down at Godhra railway station, a person is able to experience can see the complete structure, but the person is not able to make any sense out of it, but there's a sense of rhythm to the complete bridge. So as the person starts moving towards the memorial, on the entry side there's a big wall made up of terracotta with a circle on the top. That a circle is an unfinished component of time, where they imagine a wall clock or a station clock to be. So as the person enters the space, and this wall also defines the complete space and calls out people that the entry is over here. from a distance, and when the person starts entering the space, there's a transition into ignorance. That is the first step where the space converges into a smaller area. And as you can see in the section, it's a relatively dark space as compared to other spaces. So there's a wall that is kept at an angle. Only if a person observes will be able to see that it's not starting from the below. And then there's things happening behind the wall, and people can see that through some areas on the left, and the punctures on the wall on the above side represent that there's something behind also. So that gives them clues to go behind. As people move towards ignorance, so from ignorance to mess, so the wall on an acute angle actually kind of creates a mess in terms of orienting the person, as it is not completely aligned with the axis, and creates a kind of a mess in a person's mind. The black wall also represents the ignorance, and which attracts more focus in that sense, and also disaligns the person, making it a little messy thing to start the journey on the axis. So as a person starts moving towards delusion, as you can see, there's a ramp that goes about 1 meter above, and no space on the sides can be observed from an eye level. It's only when you come to the eye level, you can see that there's some space on the left and the right side, that there's an area below, which will be a cafe area, and again the space seems divided into two spaces, but it's actually connected through and through from the below. Then comes violence. So again, sharp lines, and it's a little dark and dingy space that represents violence. And the lights are coming through elements of slits, and then there's punctures in the wall that guide people about the various clues, and guides the movement of people. And as the person after the person comes out of violence, they are able to see the roof of the Peace and Reflection Plaza, and on the right side you can see there's an element of the Reflection Memorial comes into place, where there's a little change in the flooring that attracts people to walk into that space. So as the person walks into the reflection, there on the right side on the terracotta wall, there will be names of people inscribed that died during the incident of Godhra, and the long scale, the length of the complete reflection area tells the scale of the people, tells the scale of how many people died during the incident, even though the person won't read each and every name. So this becomes also a space to pay homage to people who died during the incident, and becomes a space for people of Godhra to enjoy and to celebrate. And as the person moves towards the peace, there are two strong columns that goes on the sky and cuts through the roof and holds the roof above. The two columns actually represents the two communities that have seen a strong divide in this space, and the idea is to tell them that they both together can make the roof go higher, and the space between the columns represent that this is the only way forward. So and the column starting from the ground and moving above is another representation of moving towards peace. And as the person moves from peace to the plaza, there's a common plaza that is created on this side, with the burnt coach kept over here on the exit side. And this plaza can be used for various activities, that is vending and public spaces. So this becomes an area that celebrates people. So freedom actually celebrates people, their togetherness. And as the person comes down, this is the old coach, that is burnt coach, that is transformed into a more like a cafe kind of a place which becomes a vending space. And the nature has overtaken the complete rail coach, in which grows. Nature grows on the rail coach, which tells people that we have moved past. So nature becomes an element of time to tell people that we have moved past. That it's about 20 years back, that now we need to move forward. And the rail coach has also found new purpose further ahead. So this becomes this is a plan of the memorial and the site plan. In this memorial plan, we can clearly see the axis that is connecting ignorance to peace, and the two sides and the various spaces along it. And this is the complete presentation. This is the overall elevation and how it will look. Thank you, everybody.